More than 90 Ukrainian individuals, forcibly expelled from Russia, face an uncertain future amidst what is described as hellish living conditions at a border checkpoint with Georgia. Deep within a damp, subterranean chamber at the Georgian border control post in the southern Daryali Gorge, a desolate stretch of land between Georgia and Russia. These over 90 Ukrainians are held under stringent supervision by Georgian border guards. The majority of these individuals are former Ukrainian prisoners, deported by Russia after serving their sentences. The remaining few were expelled for other reasons, including immigration documentation issues. Their plight is multifaceted. Returning to Ukraine is impossible due to the ongoing conflict, where the border is a mine-strewn war zone. Simultaneously, Georgia denies them entry, citing many having prior criminal records. Some have endured these basement conditions for nearly 2 months. On the evening of July 20th, they staged a protest. A man shouted, "We are not allowed outside," as security personnel encircled them within the checkpoint compound. Another voice added, "We are being tormented. This place is incredibly damp. There are disabled individuals receiving no medical care. There is nothing at all." Driven by desperation and extreme confinement, one individual resorted to self-harm during the protest. Nikolai Lapada, a 45-year-old man, spoke of the injured person. "He has been here for over 1 month. They promised twice to get him out of here. He even bought bus tickets, but both times his money was not refunded." According to Lapada, this man suffers from an anxiety disorder and has been repeatedly denied transit to Ukraine by Georgian authorities. An ambulance arrived after more than 1 hour. Medical staff bandaged his wound and departed silently. The man, approximately 40 years old, was not hospitalized and remains at the checkpoint, as reported by volunteers on site. Lapada explained that he and others trapped there had been incarcerated in Russian prisons or facilities within Russian-controlled Ukrainian territories. They were released in recent months and now find themselves in this indefinite limbo. Georgian border guards are holding our documents. They will not allow us to enter or leave Georgia. They keep saying, "Tomorrow, tomorrow." Some have been here for over 1.5 months in terrible, unbearable conditions, Lapada stated. Lapada, originally from the city of Dnipro in central Ukraine, shared that he had resided in Russia since 2005, married a Russian woman, and has 2 children. In 2010, he was convicted of murder. Upon completing his sentence in 2024, he was transferred to a deportation holding center for an additional year. At that time, with the conflict between Russia and Ukraine raging fiercely, securing a flight ticket to Kyiv was an impossibility. Last summer, Russian authorities said they would send me to Georgia. Then, in the winter, they promised to send me back to Ukraine via Belarus. Finally, we were taken to the Georgian border, where we were told we would be received. But Georgia refused to accept us, Lapada recounted. Instead, upon arriving at the border on July 4th, he was photographed, fingerprinted, and had his documents confiscated by Georgian border guards before being led into a basement. "We do nothing, just sit in the basement all day," Lapada said, adding that those in the basement must sleep in shifts as there are only 40 beds available. The deportees receive very few supplies and no permanent medical support. When someone is injured or experiences a health issue, an ambulance is called for emergency care. Almost every day, an ambulance comes, sometimes twice a day. Because we have disabled and sick people here, Lopada noted. He is aware of individuals suffering from epilepsy, HIV, and tuberculosis, but they provide nothing beyond temporary solutions. For example, yesterday, they injected someone with a painkiller and said, "That is it. We cannot help you further." Activists and volunteers regularly deliver essential supplies to those detained at the checkpoint. Food, household items, and personal hygiene products are provided by Volunteers Tbilisi, an organization assisting Ukrainian refugees in Georgia. There is no fresh air. It is very hot, and the basements are sealed off. Maria Balkina, manager at Volunteers Tbilisi, observed. This is certainly not a place where you can live. Anna Skripka, a lawyer from the non-governmental organization Protection of Ukrainian Prisoners, stated that this humanitarian catastrophe began in 2023 and has worsened significantly over the past 2 years. According to her, some individuals are so desperate they have attempted suicide. They do not understand what is happening, Skripka said. The living conditions are hellish. Currently, there are 84 men and 7 women detained at the Georgian checkpoint. The women have a separate room, but their conditions are equally dire. Many women complain to me that they are not allowed to go to the toilet, Skripka revealed. They ask us to buy them a bucket with a lid to use in their room. Lawyer Skripka explained that under a previous agreement between Moldova and Georgia, Ukrainians deported by Russia would be transported by bus from the border crossing to Tbilisi airport, flown to Moldova, and then travel overland back to Ukraine. From early June to July, nearly 40 Ukrainians were repatriated this way. However, 4 individuals exploited the agreement to illegally remain in Moldova. They were subsequently returned to Ukraine, Skripka noted. But since then, Moldova announced in mid-July that it would terminate the cooperation program because it did not want to take any more risks. Georgia also refuses to allow these deported Ukrainians transit through its territory, citing that many are former prisoners who served sentences in Russia. Most of these individuals have a criminal past and have been repeatedly convicted of serious or especially serious crimes, the Georgian Ministry of Foreign Affairs declared. However, Skripka argues that labeling all of them as criminals is unfair. Some were deported from Russia due to a lack of valid documents. Others had their Russian citizenship revoked. According to her, Georgia's treatment of the deportees raises serious legal and ethical questions. Yet, one complicating matters further is that many deportees lack valid identification documents. Ukraine has issued white passports, a type of emergency travel document allowing citizens to return home. But these documents are only valid for 30 days. Some Ukrainian politicians have spoken out about their citizens stranded in Georgia. We are actively working with the Georgian and Moldovan sides for their safe return, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha stated. To avoid further complicating the situation, we publicly propose that Russia bring these Ukrainian citizens to the border, where we will receive them. There are suitable border areas for this. Upon returning to Ukraine, these individuals must undergo a thorough security screening process. They have been in Russia for a long time. Anything could have happened. They might have been recruited by Russian intelligence. This is a matter of Ukraine's national security, Siwa. Lawyer Skripka explained. In March, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree requiring Ukrainians living in Russian-controlled territories to either leave or acquire Russian citizenship by September 10th. This has the potential to significantly increase the number of Ukrainians deported by Russia in the coming months. Lopata yearns to leave the Georgian border checkpoint more than ever, even though he does not necessarily have a home to return to. "My home in Ukraine was bombed. My parents were killed, and I do not know where to go," he said. "I just want to get out of here at any cost." The unfolding humanitarian crisis at the Georgian border, where over 90 Ukrainian deportees are trapped in a geopolitical purgatory, invites a multidimensional analysis that extends beyond simple bureaucratic hurdles. While official statements highlight security concerns and legal complexities, a deeper look reveals potential strategic motivations and unanswered questions that hint at a more intricate geopolitical game. From one perspective, Russia's systematic deportation of Ukrainian citizens, particularly ex-prisoners, could be interpreted not merely as a consequence of their legal system, but as a calculated maneuver. By expelling these individuals without clear pathways for repatriation, Moscow effectively offloads a vulnerable population onto neighboring states, creating humanitarian burdens and potential social instability. Is this a deliberate tactic to exert pressure on countries like Georgia and Moldova, testing their capacity and willingness to manage such crises? Some analysts might suggest that this is a form of hybrid warfare, using human displacement as a tool to destabilize border regions and indirectly challenge the sovereignty of states perceived as leaning towards the West. Furthermore, the timing of these deportations, especially in light of Putin's decree compelling Ukrainians in occupied territories to accept Russian citizenship or face expulsion, raises the question of whether these deportations are also a means to cleanse territories of undesirable elements or to subtly coerce remaining Ukrainians into Russian identity by making any alternative path impossible. Georgia's unwavering refusal to grant transit, despite the dire humanitarian situation, also warrants closer scrutiny. While the Georgian Ministry of Foreign Affairs cites the deportees' criminal records as the primary reason, some observers question whether there are underlying political considerations. Is Georgia a country that has experienced its own conflicts with Russia, attempting to avoid any action that could be perceived as provocative by Moscow? Could they be unwilling to facilitate the return of individuals who might be viewed as security risks by Russia? Or simply be overwhelmed and lacking the resources to manage such an influx? The strict interpretation of their laws, even in the face of extreme suffering, leads to speculation about external pressures or an internal desire to maintain a delicate balance in the region. Similarly, Moldova's abrupt termination of the transit program after only 4 individuals absconded raises eyebrows. While security risks are legitimate, the immediate cessation of a vital humanitarian corridor for nearly 40 people seems disproportionate. Was this decision solely an internal one based on a genuine security assessment? Or were there external influences at play? Could the program have been viewed by certain actors as too convenient for Ukraine? Or perhaps even as a loophole that needed to be closed to prevent a larger, uncontrolled movement of people? The speed and finality of the decision, despite the ongoing crisis, invite questions about the true motivations behind it. Ultimately, the plight of these 90-plus Ukrainians at the Dariali Gorge checkpoint transcends a simple humanitarian crisis. It becomes a microcosm of the broader geopolitical tensions in the region, where human lives are caught between conflicting state interests, national security concerns, and potentially strategic maneuvers designed to reshape the demographic and political landscape. The unanswered questions surrounding the motivations of all parties involved underscore the complex, often unseen, dimensions of this tragic situation.